Hey everyone, Nicole here at DIY here. Today I'm going to show you how I DIY'd the heck out of my bedroom to go from this to this. Alright, are you ready? Let's go! So I did my bedroom as part of the one room challenge, which is a challenge rather than a competition where twice every year, loads of different interior designers and DIYers from all around the world come together and they do one room at their own pace within 8 weeks. So it's not about trying to win or compete with anybody. It is purely a motivational place where you can upload weekly updates of your progress, and they put them all on their website, and it helps you connect with all these amazing different creatives from all around the world and just gives you that deadline that sometimes you really need. It also helps you to take your project very seriously, which I actually really love. I'm great at doing projects for other people, but when it comes to myself, sometimes I'm a bit lacking. So the first thing I did was make up a mood board. So I found lots and lots of different images and then narrowed them down, put them all together on one piece of paper, just so I could see what is my vision heading towards. Then I created this visual just to sort of help myself see how it's all going to look together, just using images that sort of roughly look like what I was hoping to achieve. Now in Australia, traditionally, we weren't allowed to do anything, even paint our walls in rental properties, but those rules have changed and you're definitely now allowed to ask permission from your landlord if you can make changes to your home. And you do have to reverse them if the landlord doesn't like them when moving out. I've actually lived in this property for many years and plan to stay many more, so investing a little bit of money on a DIY budget is more than worth it to make myself a happy home. So for my bedroom, I needed to request permission to apply a wallpaper. I wanted this beautiful Grasscloth wallpaper, sent him this photo and he approved it. Unfortunately, when I ordered it, I actually ordered the wrong one, and this is what showed up. It was my mistake though. It's very, very, very subtle wallpaper and pretty much the same color as the room anyway. So hopefully he will not make me take it down if I ever move out of this property. But anyway, I digress. So I started by repatching a few terrible holes that the previous tenant had patched poorly. Took off all the outlet covers. Now, if you want to mark a line instead of sort of leaving the laser there, don't use a lead pencil if you're using a light colored wallpaper. It doesn't really matter if it's like a dark one, but if it's a light one, it can like bleed onto the paper. So don't use that. Instead, use some chalk. Now this is traditional wallpaper, so it needed to be adhesive rolled onto the back of the paper, and then you bookend it like this and leave it for 10 minutes before putting it on the wall. The glue itself isn't super sticky, it more just makes the paper wet, so it is quite easy to move the paper around, pull it up if you need to, and reposition. So it's not too bad, but it does get really fiddly and messy and quite annoying at times. So if you're considering wallpapering, just just reconsider, or get the peel and stick. The peel and stick is much better, but I couldn't get that for Grasscloth. It's important to use a seam roller when doing Grasscloth because the seams in Grasscloth are actually meant to be seen. That's just the kind of wallpaper it is. For any outlets and switches, just cut a rectangle around just close to the edge and then do diagonal little cuts right next to the edge so you can get it to sit flush. And then just smooth out. The texture of Grasscloth is so pretty. It's such a shame I have to stand a meter away from this to be able to see it. Next on, I decided that I wanted to make my own bed head. Now look, this might be a weird consideration, but I have to take into consideration that I have 2 cats. So I can't do anything that has like a weave, so like any kind of cotton, any kind of linen, especially more open weave. If it's on a vertical surface, my cats will just claw at it and it will be threads all over the place within a day. So with that in mind, they don't necessarily tear up my microfiber lounge or sort of suede lounge. So I went with a suede fabric, and this is an upholstery fabric, so it has a really nice felt back, so it's really nice and thick.
Now, this is the inspiration that I wanted to sort of draw from. I've made mine a little bit different, and obviously, like, mine's not a humongous room, so it's probably not as huge as this one. I didn't have the space to do it as wide.
I started by grabbing some MDF from good old Bunnings, and I just marked it up to make one big panel for the sort of back piece and then two smaller panels for the two front pieces. And I cut off all my pieces ready to make, and I just used a bowl to create these corners on the top of all the edges. And then I just used my jigsaw to cut out those rounded edges. By the way, I grabbed this wet and dry back from Azito, and it is so good. It like sucks up all the dust. Highly recommend, especially if you live in a townhouse where it is super close to all your neighbors and you really don't want sawdust flying everywhere. Okay, so I grabbed a mattress as well. This one was just free on Marketplace, free of smells and stains as well. And I cut it in half because I only needed it to be about 8 centimeters for each piece thick. And then I used some spray adhesive, particularly for foam, to adhere it to my MDF pieces. And then I used the MDF as my guide for my blade to cut the edges. Then I needed to curve the edges. So I just sort of basically drew up sections where I would cut and then cut that in half and then cut that in half, just to give me a rounded edge. I know it might look a little bit chunky bubbly here, but just trust the process. Don't worry, we're going to do wadding next. All right, here's the wadding. I did 2 layers of wadding. If I had my time again, I would do 4, but it still looks fine. I'm still exceedingly happy with it. This is my suede fabric going on top. I also grabbed myself this staple gun from Azito. This was like $90, and this saved me so much time with having to use I've got a manual stapler, but it's so slow and it takes so much effort. So this one was super fast, and I am very happy to have this in my kit and caboodle now. The edges were difficult, but I got through it. Next, I needed to chop off my existing bed head. This is just an Ikea bed. It's super comfy, but I just couldn't actually sort of fit it to go on top of the existing one. So I just cut it off. Super easy. And then here I am fitting it up. It's starting to look like a real bed head. Oh! And then I also wanted to add basically a bed skirt to my existing bed, and this just elevated the look of the whole bed as well and made it come together to look like I had purchased a $6,000 bed. But nay, as Bailey would say, this cost me about $100 all up to do this whole bed. Very, very cheap.
All right, next up I did the bedside tables. Now I got these 2 bedside tables for $50, and I decided that I wanted this nice Dowel feature on the front. That was just kind of what I'd had a look at in some samples online of really beautiful bedside tables.
So I started by sanding down both of the bedside tables, and then I took off all of the hardware and I filled all of the holes from the screws. And then I gave everything a prime with Zinza BIN. Then I grabbed myself some half round dowels just from our local Bunnings. These can be a little bit pricey, but it was well worth it for what I was wanting to do. Then I made some MDF backing pieces so that I could make the basic sort of shape that I wanted to create with the dowels. I also drew myself a sketch so that I could make use of the dowels without having to cut every single individual one to match every single triangle, to sort of match them all up to save some time. Then I just taped everything off and then recut everything using the backing MDF as my guide. And there we go. How easy is that? Now, I would have loved to have done it the traditional timber color, but it was a little bit too pink. I'm so sorry, everyone. I painted it beige. I know you're going to hate me, but here it is. Like, come on. It looks kind of pretty, yeah?
Here's your reminder to subscribe. And also, if you're enjoying this so far, please feel free to drop a like, ask me any questions you have down below. Liking and commenting and subscribing is always free, and you can help support my channel just by doing any of those 3 things. Next up, I wanted to DIY some lamps because why not? I am DIYing everything else. And I really wanted I saw these lamps that had the bubble texture of these that they have at Kmart, but they were sort of taller.
So I had this idea to just stack them on top of each other. They also had these little tiny lights that were $10 each, and it fit perfectly into the top one, so I didn't even need to prop it up or anything. And then these lampshades are from Bunnings. They were also very, very affordable. But there you go. There's my sort of $300 to $600 lamp for around $50 per lamp. And of course, I had to paint it black because I was putting pops of black all through the room. I used this spray paint suitable for ceramic, and I also applied gold foil to the stem.
There was a beautiful Duno cover. Sorry, we say Duno cover in Australia because we're weird. Duvet cover is what I mean if I'm ever saying Duno cover, from Freedom Australia, and it was $250, which I can afford. But did I want to pay that? No. It's literally just 2 pieces of fabric. The reason a lot of people don't make their own duvet covers is because fabric, when you go to the fabric store, just regular dress fabric, is not wide enough to make a sheet or a duvet cover. But curtain fabric is, and you can get some beautiful linen fabrics in the curtains department.
I wanted to do a blanket kind of edge on all of my duvet cover. So I didn't really use a pattern or anything. I just kind of measured it all up, popped in a zip, and it was really easy. Just 2 pieces of fabric and a zip gives you a beautiful looking duvet cover. It's a little bit wrinkled there, but how good is that? That probably cost me $60. For throw pillows, I took some inspiration from these beautiful feather-filled cushions from Oz Design Furniture, but at $160 and $100 each, and I needed 3 of the white one, I was making them myself. I actually made my own fringe as well, just using a pin to pull out threads, and then joining it all together. Super simple. I just also popped in some invisible zips, and I also had some feathers laying around, don't ask me why. So the 3 large 60 by 60 centimeter white cushions cost me maybe $20 total for all 3 cushions. That's including zips as well. Buy them on eBay or Amazon, much cheaper. And I just love the way you can manipulate a feather-filled cushion. They are so soft. And I also found this beautiful black and white fabric on clearance for $5.
So the next DIY I did was I ripped apart my Ikea armchair that I got for $20 on Gumtree or Marketplace, one of the two. $20. Ikea, super simple to take apart.
All I did was turn it over and take off the nuts off the bolt, and then I could just literally pull everything apart. Surprisingly, this one was actually all, the fabric was secured with Velcro, which was so handy. Everything just sort of came off super easily, and yeah, I was able to make a pattern out of all the fabric. Now, I knew that I wasn't ever going to reuse these covers because they were very stained and smelly, and they wouldn't wash up very well at all. But so I did choose to rip these apart, and I just made sure I marked everything and made sure I was, knowing where all the Velcro needed to go, so that when I ripped it apart, I knew which piece came where. I just used my unpicker and for a little bit, and then just rip with my hands. Super easy. Now this is a fabric called Teddy fabric, and it's very, very affordable, and much more affordable than sort of regular boucle, but you can definitely get that boucle on-trend look just using this cheaper fabric. I just laid all of my pieces out, pinned everything down, and then cut around. And whilst I had the piece there, I actually ripped all the Velcro pieces off the original, and then reused those in the exact same position. Easy. I then just sewed everything up where any seams needed to be, and also sewed on the Velcro, popped it back on, and this is how it looks. I spent $60 on fabric, so this total was $80 for an armchair. Next up, time to paint an artwork for my wall.
So this is a $22 frame from Kmart. Rather than buying a piece of MDF and building your own frame, this for $22 is going to work amazing. And if you want a black frame or a white frame, just paint it.
This frame had an MDF backing, so I simply took that out and primed it with Zinsser BIN. Don't use a water-based one, it will swell the MDF.
All right, let's start with some texture. And the reason I'm in a hurry is because this is the one room challenge and I've literally got like a day to finish and I've just got to whip up an artwork.
With my base layer down, I decided to sketch up some very simple geometric shapes, so I had a rough idea of what I wanted to put instead of going in blindly. And now back to your painting ASMR. Oh, there's no sound in this one. Uh, Basically, I wanted to do some simple on-trend art shapes and just black, white, neutral tones just to match in with the bedroom and those pops of black bringing everything together.
The last few finishing touches, I put up some curtains. These are just Ikea curtains. I think they cost me $48 plus a furnace, so maybe $60 for these curtains. And they made such a huge difference in the room. I cannot tell you how much curtains make a difference. It just made everything feel so much more luxurious and soft and cozy. And putting them right up at the ceiling level and bringing them all the way down to the floor just makes the room feel a lot taller and grander as well. So I definitely recommend doing that. Whilst I was putting the curtains up though, I realized that the vent was a disgusting yellow color and I had to paint that. So I ended up taking that out, spraying it white, putting it back up, and it became invisible. So definitely do that if you're ever doing up a room and you've got yellowed vents or even like light switches, power outlets. If they're all yellow, you can really change them out so easily, or you can paint them. Super cheap. This is a drum shade that I found on the side of the road during hard rubbish, giving it a bit of a clean up.
On my ceiling, there's literally just a blank light bulb. So I grabbed a pendant extension kit and that just pops into the existing socket and then you pull up the cover over it.
That was it. What do you think of the before and the after? Was it worth it? Was it worth 8 weekends of my life? Absolutely.
And just in case you're wondering how much I actually spent on everything and how much it would have cost to buy versus DIY, Here is my cost breakdown. So to buy everything would have been $6,480. But for me to DIY everything, I spent $759. Yep, definitely worth it.
Now every time I walk into my bedroom, I feel just so calm and peaceful and luxurious. I may not be luxurious myself, but my bedroom is. Thanks so much for watching, guys. If you found this helpful, please send a like, subscribe if you have not subscribed, and drop a comment below. Commenting really helps. Maybe you've got a question about something, maybe you want to know a paint color, something. Just make up a question. Doesn't matter what you say, or just say nice room, just whatever you want. Or you could say shitty room, I didn't like it. That'd be fine too. If you wanted to go an extra step and help my channel grow by being a little bit more generous, I have a buy me a coffee link. This is absolutely like, no one has to do this. I just kind of set it up, but if anyone fancies like buying me a coffee, then there's a link in the description. Just know that I probably won't spend it on coffee. I'll spend it on tools, of course. Make sure you subscribe so you get to see all the other tutorials around this bedroom. Bye!